mapayapang isipan. Go palakas, malinis na paligid, mabuting kalooban. Go palakas, hangad na maglingkod sa kapwa't kaibigan. Go palakas, alagaan natin si inang kalikasan. Halika na totoo sa kalikasan at kapwa-tao. Isa buhay natin ito. Go pala, go pala. Sugan pangkalikasan, go palakas.
Okay.
Hello.
Muulan na ba sa inyo?
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good
sa inyo
day,
lahat.
wherever you are.
My friend Saldi, good morning to you and Gemini. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow,
So
aga.
early birds. Yan,
Ayun.
maganda.
Ang tatalakayin natin ay isang mga aspekto sa ating naging buhay, di ba? Sa atin at saka yung mga naging ancestors natin. Sa
Bakit
mga-
ba natin pag-uusapan tong topic na ito?
Kasi
Siyempre,
it's the month of Heritage
Heritage
Month
Month.
ngayon, the whole month.
month. Oh,
Mm.
Heritage
Month.
Heritage Month.
Oo.
Oo. So,
Marami kasi ngayon, alam nyo, yung mga, hindi ba, pag may mga pakay na parang gusto bigyan ng pansin ng ating society today. Kasi may importansya yun eh. Kunyari, ng isang buwan.
1 month, ha?
Environment
We
naman.
just had Earth
recently.
Day. Oo.
Recently,
Earth Day,
it's
Earth
Earth
Hour.
Day.
Pero Heritage
May
1
Earth Hour.
month. Oo.
Di ba may mga ganon, hindi ba? Tapos,
Oh, next week naman, Mother's Day.
Oh, Mother's
Huwag natin
Day.
Mother's Day na ba?
ay, mga...
Siyempre, hindi natin kakalimutan yun.
Yung pag-uusapan.
So, when we talk about these matters, especially the society itself, we're giving it attention. It has an impact to everyone. Kasi when you talk about heritage, wag lang natin pag-usapan yung minsan heritage.
Siyempre, yung
Parang
ating mga
inheritance kaya tayo
minana.
Hindi ba?
Mga minana natin
Yung
sa
mga
iba-
minamana natin.
from
Di
all
ba?
the generations
Meron na, at
before
saka
us.
ang lagi kong naririnig yung heritage nowadays, yung in connection with places
Yeah.
Yes.
na dinideclare as heritage places na dapat i-preserve.
I-preserve.
Yes.
Kasi
Diba?
Yeah, whether it's natural or unnatural. Like for example, yung mga natural resources. There are
Hindi
some
ba yung,
places as heritage
Banawe Rice
areas.
Terraces?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
oo.
Declare doon.
Tapos
minsan,
meron naman buildings, di ba?
mga structures.
houses.
Oo.
Kasi kaya nila binibigyan ng pansin dahil it gives back historical, okay, this
Oo,
is
and cultural,
and cultural.
May merong meaning.
Yes.
Pagka merong lessons na binibigay sa contribution from the past
Yes.
na gusto nilang i-maintain.
Yes.
No? At saka
Kasi
bawal,
wala na
you cannot
masyado
destroy
ngayon.
those places na dineclare na heritage
Kasi it
places.
reminds you of
Sacrifices of our forefathers.
how things
Oo. Or what they've given
kumbaga,
us, di ba?
it progressed to whatever it is today. For example, meron kami as a family on my side. We have an almost heritage home in Baguio City.
Well, we're
It's almost 100 years old.
next year it will be 100 years old, the house.
Ngayon, yung bahay na yan, it will tell you what kind of architecture, what kind of,
Tells us of the past.
the past.
No?
And then you see, nakita mo yung buong bahay, makahoy.
Yes.
Purong kahoy. Ang gaganda ng
Wala nang
kahoy.
gumagawa ng ganun today.
Tsaka anong klaseng architecture para merong mix ng
Yeah, it's an early,
American.
That one
early
was
American yun. Kasi
early
built by an
engineer.
American kasi.
Engineer
Oo.
gumawa.
Oo.
It was the time of, alam mo, di ba, pag sinabi niyo, umakyat kayo ng Baguio.
Sa Baguio po yung
pupunta
bahay.
kami sa Burnham.
Oo.
Di ba? Pupunta kami sa Burnham Park. Di ba?
Mm.
Ano ba't Burnham ang naging pangalan? Di ba?
Sino ba si Burnham?
Burnham. Yung pala, akala natin, Burnham Park lang ang ginawa niya. Yung pala, dami. Pati Metro Manila, may mga park siyang gumawa.
Talaga.
Well known.
Magaling.
Tapos, pag sinabi niyong dadaan kami ng Cannon Road,
Yun pa.
Sino naman din yun?
Cannon was an engineer.
Sila yung
And
gumawa
he-
ng road kasi.
He was the one who put an access to get to Baguio.
Yeah.
And they
And
were the
kaya
ones
may
who made-
Camp 1, Camp 2, Camp 3. They literally camped in that area.
in every area. Kaya pag sinabi yung Camp 1, ibig sabihin yan, nung habang gine-develop nila yung lupa, inaayos nila yung kalye. Okay, next Camp 2, nandito na tayo. Nandito na lahat ng workers, lahat ng
So, paakyat ng paakyat yan
Oo.
hanggang yung Camp
Umabot sa
7. Yung
Camp 8. Aabot ng
Camp
Camp
8
8.
pa ba?
Meron, may Camp 8.
Tapos may iba pang
may
camp
history,
going
may
to
history
that.
yung story ng
Yes,
pangalan.
ganun
Right,
diba?
historical siya. So he was the guy who designed, and alam nyo, can you imagine the difficulty of building that
Oh, yeah.
road? And siyempre,
From
during those
scratch.
days, mas simple pa yung mga gamit ng mga tao, and it was very labor intensive.
Mano-mano.
You know, kaya anything, alam nyo, pag when you talk
So
about
parang heritage road na rin pala yan. Ano yung Canon na yan?
kaya nga hindi nila mabitaw-bitawan no matter how difficult it
Kasama
is to
ng
maintain.
history ng Baguio kasi.
Yes.
Oo.
So anyway, also, but there's one thing that we should not forget. When you deal with heritage, it has to do with cultural learnings of
Yes,
people.
correct.
And tayo, certain things we have embraced in our lives, we learned it from our parents.
Yeah.
And our parents,
Yung ating tradition naman.
Correct.
handed
Oo.
it down.
Yes,
Binaba
yes.
nila sa atin para matutunan natin. Ngayon, nakikita nyo, siyempre maraming mga practices noon na mas lalo yung pagkatao ba ang dealings, you know, how to make you as a person who is a whole person, kompleto ba?
Kasama yung values.
Values, yung health,
Yes.
values with family, tapos
Sa community.
members of
Oo.
the community, and the very society you live in.
That constitutes yung heritage
Yes.
na
Yes.
meron
Kasali
silang
yan
kasama
lahat.
yung word na legacy. Legacy.
Legacy.
Legacy to
Yes.
actually pass on the legacy to future generations.
Yes. Oo.
Diba? And
Kaya
it's
nga
a-
hindi nila basta tatanggalin yung mga yun.
Oo.
Kasi that serves as a reminder.
And plus, when you talk about cultural legacies, it has to do with practices. Kasi may mga practices parang hindi na adaptable today yan. Pero
Sometimes
they
they think
think
it's
it's outdated na, but there are practices, if it's
Timeless
embraced
naman yung
today, that
ibang-
are timeless.
Oh, yes. At sinabi nga dito na a people without the knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. No? Kumbaga, marami ka ring foundational
siya.
yung mga
Oo.
ano. And like for example, ano ba yung tinatawag natin sa Philippine culture? Yung bayanihan, tapos yung respect. Hindi ba yan kasama
Respect
yan
sa
sa culture?
elders.
Di ba?
Tsaka hindi ka namimili, basta respect sa elders, kahit sinong elder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hindi lang
Oo,
elder sa
Any
family
elder,
mo.
kahit hindi mo kilala.
Kahit hindi mo kilala.
Yes. So it's the building block of what we teach our children sa culture natin na mag-amin ka, good morning, magpasalamat ka, thank you, say
Yes.
excuse me.
Oo.
These are what we actually pass on to the future generations.
Yes.
Di ba?
Even the way
You
we see
ingrain that
others,
eh.
di ba?
It's
Oo.
not the passing on
Yes.
is a lifelong thing. You try to build that foundation early in their lives, just so that
It's a part of us.
Yeah.
we
already.
all know that this is to capacitate, the word capacitate,
Yeah.
and to make sure that if it's your child, if it's the students in the school, kaya nga may sets of subjects kang kailangan mapag-aralan. Kanya rin, Philippine history, world history. Ang daming ganon eh. Kasi,
Panitikan.
ang dami sa yung sasabihin na, okay, kasi ganito nun eh. But ito, relevant sa buhay kasi ito nga, timeless information.
Yes.
Yan.
Yes. Actually, sinabi, to know nothing of what happened before you is to forever remain a child. Kumbaga, parang hindi ka
Hindi
nagmamature.
ka natututo.
If you are not learning from what happened in the past. Because ang dami na yung lessons yung mga pagkakamali. Hindi lang naman puro yung good values lang, but yung mistakes na ginawa ng past generations.
You will not be
Repeating.
repeating those mistakes if
Hindi
you
ba?
know about
Alam nyo,
it. Oo.
I'll cite to you, this happened just a few days ago. I had some of our staff from the provincial Capitolio come here to check the venue because we will hold a conference here. Now, the staff member, secretary, dalawa sila eh. So,
Bata pa.
yeah, they're quite, they're not that, they're probably in their late 20s. No? So sabi ko, okay, as soon as they got here, they were like, wow. It's like, but una lang hinahanap, sir, nasan yung saksakan? Sir, nasan yung
Kasi yung pag-gadget, sa
Tapos-
gadget, kailangan
tapos-
saksakan.
May signal ba?
Ayun, sir, may signal ba rito? Test na lahat. Tapos,
Internet kayo.
pagdating sa sabi ko, we have Wi-Fi, I have internet connection. Don't worry. But sa phone, forget it. Sabi ko, you have to make, hanap kayo ng lugar kung saan. But point was, when I said the word, in the earlier years when we moved here, we were off grid. We were off the grid.
Walang kuryente.
Walang kuryente. Ibig sabihin, sir, ano ba? Actually, they kind of looked at me. Ano kayo sinasabi ni sir na off the grid?
Off-grid. Di nila alam yung
Off-grid.
term na yun. Kasi
Sabi ko-
nasa grid sila lagi forever na.
Sabi ko sa kanila, pag sinabing off-grid, walang kuryente. Hindi kami nakakonekta sa grid. Grid, yun ang tawag din sa electrical
Electrical lines.
suppliers,
Ah,
essential
oo,
lines. Sabi ko,
ganun,
The whole
Kaya-
setup.
sabi sa akin, kaya pala sir mabuhay ng ganun. Then I go,
Okay.
di ba nagkakaroon ng
I know where
brownout?
they live.
Di ako naman, sabi ko, di ba nakaka-experience na kayo ng brownout? Tapos minsan yung
Anxiety nga sila pag brown out,
tapos
di ba?
tapos may binanggit pa akong example, di ba? Sabi ko sa kanya, taga saan ba kayo? Gumanan ako, yun pala sa syudad ng La Union. Sabi ko, ito mo, katulad niya ating mga kababayan sa North, yung nagkaroon ng malakas na bagyo, 2 linggo sila walang kuryente.
Oh, ang
Kahit
ating mga ninuno, walang kuryente sila
Saka sa
noon.
Visayas, pag matagal din silang
Yeah, 3 buwan.
All over the country.
So,
Pag
when
binagyo,
you,
mamaya walang
when you
ilaw.
kind of, sometimes I go, wow, this is the difficulties that they will be faced with simply because, you know what that word is? I'm going back to that word, capacitating people today. Kasi recently, ngayon, the last 2 months or 3 months were not matter because of first the pandemic, then the gulo ng Europe.
Ukraine.
So now you have issues with fuel spike. So now everything will spike. Food, all the basic services.
Hindi lang spike, wala pa.
Yeah.
Walang supply.
So ngayon, you can find that such situation, if you're not able to make adaptation, yun maka-adapt ka sa
You have no
changes.
capacities.
Yung parang, pag
Dapat
nawalan ka
isipin
lang,
natin.
and survive.
biro mo yung unang measurement nila, pagdating dito, tingnan ko may signal. Sabi ko, ang aking main connection dito, nasa natural world. I was making them loco. Dito kasi, yung pag you talk about connection, my connection is to the forest, to everything that's good for you.
Alam mo, speaking of our heritage, no, dati ang aming mga lola, sila yung nag-umpisa ng wireless, di ba? No? Yung kanilang plancha, walang wire. Lalagyan mo
Uling.
lang ng uling.
Yung panahon na yan,
Walang
siyempre
energy
ngayon,
din.
siyempre panahon ngayon, bawal lang yung uling kasi bawal maggawa ng uling. Wala nang punong kahoy. Pero nung panahon na yan, dahil maraming kahoy,
At saka may mga balon. Pag walang kuryente, meron silang tubig dahil may mga balon.
Oo.
Di ba?
saka siyempre
Pag
kasi,
maglalaba, hindi nag-washing machine. Doon sa may batis. Doon sila naglalaba.
alam nyo, may ano pa rin yan eh. A sense of responsibility sa unang panahon.
Tsaka may
Ngayon,
paraan lagi. No,
Kasi
may
ngayon,
paraan lagi ang
pag
ating
walang tubig,
ninuno.
tingin mo kagad yung supplier ng tubig ang may problema. Nawasa. Lahat ganon eh. Kasi ang impression,
They have to
talaga,
supply.
sa gripo magagaling yung hindi yung kukolektahin nyo. So in doing so, people now, they find they never really appreciate what the availability of the natural elements given to everyone. Kaya nga, during those days, binibigyan ng part of the practices has to do with you have to value water. You have to value
But
clean
natural
air.
that they valued, no? Kasi nga, mag-i-give ka pa, no?
Ah.
So, titipirin mo.
Titipirin mo.
Actually, that is what we call also environmental heritage.
Yeah,
Diba?
it is. Kaya
That
We
is
have to
what
take
we-
good care of that.
I'm speaking on that
receive.
angle kasi
Oo.
right now we tend to like these visitors I had. They were going, ayun naman, meron pa ako isang statement, sinabi ko, dito sa hall na to, dito mo pag nakatayo ka dyan, makikita mo yung bakod doon sa entrada nitong property, which is 300 meters away from here.
Dati.
Dati. Sabi
Dati,
niya,
nakikita namin
Alam mo,
yung
sabi
hay.
niya?
Ngayon, hindi na.
ano siya, is that good?
They didn't get the point.
Oh,
Okay?
hindi naintindihan yung, kasi noon makikita niya yung ngayon dami ng puno.
Oo.
Hindi niya na matanaw.
Oo.
Tapos yung mga building, hindi niya na makita. Kasi kumbaga you need,
Marami ng air condition dito, natural
Oo.
air
Ngayon,
conditioning.
pagka may
At saka
hangin.
payong, meron ng mga payong ng mga puno.
Pag may hangin, malamig na siya.
Oo.
Kasi dumaan sa puno.
kaya this is, sinabi ko na lang, yung mga bisita, pag naghanap ng aircon, huwag niya nang papuntahin dito.
Kasi dito, meron kami fresh air. Oo.
Kasi hindi ako makakasupply ng air conditioning at hindi ko pipilitin. I mean, the point we're getting at, these
Minsan lang
are
sila
environmental
makalanghap ng
heritage
ganon.
that sometimes we
Oh my
take
God,
all of
cedar
these things
bugs
for
even.
granted.
Mhm.
Like now, I told, again, the same group, I think we have to consider the afternoon schedule because it's beginning to rain every afternoon.
Oo nga.
So they're going, sir, rain every afternoon? Yung parang, for
Wala
them,
kasi
yung parang,
doon sa syudad rin.
parang, they come here, they want to walk around. They want to see the place. If it rains, we cannot go walk around. We're just inside the building. So what's the point of coming here then? You see, on my side, if I invite people to come here, I'm not going to invite them to the building. They've been living in buildings all these years. On my side, come and check what
Nice to walk
environmental
around the trees.
nature heritage can give you with the birds, the water, the plants, the beauty of what nature is.
Sanay sila sa venue na sarado sa isang
May
room,
aircon.
function room, na aircon. You're not aware of morning, evening, afternoon.
Oo,
You're not
ulan
aware if it's
or
raining
araw.
or sunny.
Oo.
It's completely isolated, disconnected from your
Disconnected
environment.
is
And
the
like,
right word.
Case, for
Oo.
example, I'm just as our secretary. Di ba sa computer, di ba, pag nag-zoom ngayon, yung ano tawag nyo sa likod?
May fake na background.
Yung green screen nila. Di ba, that's,
The
I don't
green
know what-
screen, tapos merong ibang itsura, di ba? Kunyari, nasa beach
these
ka or
these are
somewhere.
all, but nakita niyo yung aming,
Pero hindi tunay.
sa
Nandun pa
likod
lang sa
namin ang
kwarto.
tawag green screen na original. Diba? Minsan dyan, may lilingon-lingon na tatayo-tayo dyan ng mga kasama namin.
Huwag mo nang
Kaya pag
ikwento
may
yun.
nakasama kami minsan na sumasali sa eksena during the talkings.
Ako, photo bomber.
Ano na
Real
yan?
or real, wildlife.
No, we're just,
He's joking. Okay.
Malay mo, biglang nandyan si ano.
Kumaway
King Kong.
no, we have wildlife here. You'll be
Yeah.
surprised how the birds are coming closer to you. And you know what? When it has to do with environmental heritage, why is it that we are
Yan nga yung
giving
pinaka-important.
emphasis on the biodiversity? You have to know what birds are here, what animals are here, what trees are there, what plants are there. Ang dami niyan eh. Kasi there's one thing one is to understand. Our society will come and go. There will be changes. We've embraced a more urbanized way of life in a modern like, civilization, ang tawag nila. But yet, we will find the basic resources, quality food, clean air, a very pleasant environment is something that has to be, kumbaga, it was given to us. But yet we took for granted because we always felt Parang, libre. Yung hangin, hindi ako nagbabayad tungkol sa hangin.
They don't
Wala
even
akong
think
bill.
of it. Oo.
Kanina, dumating yung electric bill namin. Uy, naku, tumaas ah.
Lahat kasi tumataas.
Mataas.
Mm-mm.
Pero ngayon, alam nyo, nagkakabit na kami ng solar eh. Kaya wala na kami talagang off the grid na naman kami.
Ang
So, we
dami
don't
mong araw, di ba? Mainit. Teka,
Ang
marami
dami.
rin tayong i-greet ngayong
Mainit
umaga.
ang kanilang mga
Oo.
greetings.
Okay. Si
From near and far, meron tayong.
Harry, good morning.
Yes.
Nice to see you again.
Oh,
They're
and
hearing
Vic-
here. Dixie Palmos, good morning.
Yeah, watching
Rosalinda
from
Loscano, our
Laon.
friend.
Mm-mm.
And then si Thomas,
Thomas.
ng Angeles, never
Lahat sila
missing.
friends.
Hindi ba?
Oo.
Angel Gonzalo, good morning.
Si Prissy Lavarias.
Yes,
Oo.
and then Lakbay
And
Gulay.
Vina Pascua, naimbag nga bigat.
At saka si Luntian Karihan.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning to
Oo.
all. Oo.
Yan, tayong lahat, meron lahat tayong heritage, no? And that's what we're talking about this show. Meron sinabi dito na our heritage and ideals. Kasama ito eh. It's
Yes.
all in a package, you know.
Mhm.
Our code and standards, the things we live by and teach our children are preserved or diminished by how freely we exchange ideas from Walt Disney. Okay, yan. Yun.
So, communication ang importante.
Yung freedom din. The freedom to speak, you know, your values, the
Yes.
freedom to teach people is if your society allows it, then
Yeah.
you can effectively pass on, no? Kasi meron minsan na in certain societies bawal magsalita tungkol dito, you know, you're not allowed to talk about God in some societies, hindi ba? You're not
Our
allowed
spiritual values.
spiritual
Yes.
values. So then you cannot pass on,
Yes, what you know.
what you know, and those ideals and that knowledge, that wisdom, because merong mga barriers.
Yeah. On the other hand, there are also cultures where it's not the one who wants to pass on something, but the one who wants to get something
Mm-mm.
cannot speak. Like some children are not heard, di ba? They're like, you be quiet. You're just a kid. We're not listening to you. But in cultures where they're more open, a child is able to ask questions.
Nurture talaga
Yes.
sila ng mga values.
Yes.
So reasons, nagiging reasonable ngayon yung children.
Yeah.
Because we also need to hear what they have to say. Sometimes the most important things comes from a child's mouth. No?
So there's
It's a measure. It's a measure of how, see, the perception of a child. You see, we have to also remember, children, may innocence ang bata eh. So kung ano yung perception ng tayo, kunyari, as elders, iba yung tanaw natin eh. So nagbabago.
Parang yung story of the child who said that the emperor is not wearing any clothes, di ba? Nakita and he said it, which was true, di ba? But adults didn't want to say anything.
kumbaga na-intimidate sila nung powers and na-intimidate sila ng mga rules, ganon.
Yes.
But the child, very innocently,
Oh,
you know,
they'll just blurt out what they see or know.
Hindi pa walang damit.
Oo.
So
Very
that's how,
interesting example,
Yeah.
no?
Siguro nagpapauso. Trending.
This one,
Di ba
what,
that
this
other
the
word-
beautiful thing
That
about
word
children.
today,
eh.
di ba palagi?
Truthful.
Trending. The word trending is so used today because ito trending to. Ganito.
Oo.
Oh,
Even if it's
viral.
not okay, yeah.
Alam mo, may isa pa. Ito, I can't forget what yung mga bisita dumating kasi.
Mukha
were
nga
like-
eh.
Meron sila isang,
lessons learned.
when I brought them to the cottages that we built out of the materials here in the farm. So ang gaganda ng mga kawayan, lahat-lahat. So you modeled it, and I was saying to them, many years ago, these are the type of homes we live in. There were two types of homes. One yung talagang maderas, yung puro makahoy na malalaki. Ito,
Hardwood.
these are more for the affluent.
Oh,
Yung mga
Yung
affluent,
mga hardwood.
magaganda, di ba? Nakikita niyo yung magagandang hardwood na mga affluent yan. Ngayon, pagdating sa mga the ordinary people, yung sa mga farms, and their houses are all made of bamboo.
Bamboo.
Very cool, very
Very
practical.
nice, very practical.
Ang ganda nga talaga ng
Red,
bamboo.
Polo,
eh.
lahat.
Mga polo.
Tapos, yung kanilang mga ginagamit for for the framing are all materials gathered around.
Mm-hmm.
And they all know how to work those materials.
Yeah.
They have the skill.
Sawali, hindi
And
ba?
the respect
Yun, di ba?
also
And
for the
and
material.
also, you know what? Because they know we have to get the materials here so that we don't have to buy.
Oo.
That means
Practical.
we have to take care of what's around us. So
Yes.
there was what is known as community forest.
O yun, alaga. And you only
Right.
get what you need.
Only the community
Oo.
can access this resource. If you're a member of this community, then you have access to this, but it has to also there's kumbaga ano, there's monitoring. You cannot just exploit and no, it's
Saka may palit,
purely
may kapalit. Kukuha ka, magtatanim ka rin.
yeah. You know what it is? It is has to do with if it's only for us in the village, nobody should sell.
Oo. Tulungan.
There was that sort of rule. Nobody sells anything out of this resource because it is for
Ours.
the needs
Oo.
of your community.
Oo.
So that's why many of them continue to maintain and sustain those community forests. Ngayon, when I was bringing those guests, sabi ko, see how beautiful this bamboo is? How beautiful the bamboo cottages are, how lamig inside. And they all go, parang, they're all like looking at each other and going. Then,
Doing what? What did they say?
they're just looking at what they kind of were. They're kind of out of touch.
Na-confuse sila.
Oh, then parang bahay sa nakawayan. And they were going like this. Yun, meron pala siya niyan.
Meron palang bahay.
Bahay kubo.
Okay. Buti na lang nakakita na sila ng bahay ko.
Sir, hindi ba pwedeng, di ba pag binagyo yan, matutumba lahat yan? Sabi ko, mga bahay ngayon, hindi ba natutumba rin?
Oo
Hindi ba
nga.
nasisira din?
May bridge pa nga natumba, di ba?
Ang daming
In
mga...
Bohol, did you hear? There's a
But
bridge that
ang
fell
punto
apart.
dyan,
Oh
it
my
all
God.
has to do with, there has to be, when we deal with new things that we embrace today, the word is trending. The question that should always arise, anybody who's reasonable and who understands a sense of, kumbaga, when we talk about reasoning, we talk about responsibility.
Yes.
See, we are responsible individuals. We are held responsible for our actions. Because if we are not, we don't act this way, we don't act with reason, your way of, your outlook will be, kumbaga, ano, you'll see that it will impact a lot of other people. And many times, because of certain practices that has changed, or it can be what is known as trending. Sa panahon ngayon, the word is your practice, can it sustain?
Can it be sustained?
Can it be sustained? Can you sustain such way of life? Can you keep sustaining that? Okay, recently we have seen this happen in our society where marami sa atin nahirapan sa pagkain.
Right now, it's happening.
Hirap na hirap tayo sa pagkain ngayon. So we find there's so many things that we need to understand that a sense of responsibility brings about sustainability in the way of people's life. If you don't take the responsibility and think it with reason, you will find that many of the things that you do, the tendency is that it leads to more difficulties for yourself and for others.
Oh, kamukha ngayon you're talking about sustainability. Dati, yung ating mga ninuno, konti lang naman mga damit nila, di ba? Magkakaroon ka ng bagong damit kung may okasyon, no? Eh, ang naging trending nga, bili ka ng bili. Now, di ba? Parang you just throw away your clothes. Every time there's a new thing, you buy. But now, those who are more responsible in their thinking, they've changed the way that they buy clothes and own clothes. Naging mas uso na nga pala ngayon. Yung you even just rent some clothes. Let's say there's an occasion, minsan mo lang gagamitin yung barong, you just rent it. No, this is not just, I'm not talking Philippines lang, ha. This is all over the world, even in first world countries. Now they're trimming down their consumption of clothes para mas sustainable kasi nga nasisira na yung world sa kakagawaan ng damit. no?
You see, with the change of values, kasi this is something that took place in the last 100 plus years, maybe 120 years. When we begin to embrace the consumerism consciousness,
Diyan nagkagulo-gulo
diyan
yung ating
nagkagulo-gulo
environment.
our environment
Oo.
and even values amongst social values.
Yes.
Nagkagulo-gulo because everything becomes, what it is. If you analyze the different wars that took place, yung mga gulo sa mga bayan,
Upheavals in society.
upheavals in the society, you will find it's all about fighting for resources.
Yeah.
If it's not fighting for people na magiging resourceful yung mga tao,
Mm-mm.
sila yung gagamitin mo as a resource, you
Oo.
control the society itself. You are also looking at the very resources that they
Natural
have.
resources.
Natural
Oo.
resources. Today, ganyan na ulit. Ganyan ang labanan ulit ngayon.
Oo.
If you
So-
analyze it, it's all about resources.
Yeah.
You know.
So Dixie has a comment here that she's sharing with us. We were talking earlier about the children, and so she says that's true po about the children. We must nurture the inner child within each of us, willing to learn, love, and serve without much of a thought. In spiritual life, we simply need to emulate the innocence and sincerity of children. Di ba yan nga ang turo ni
Oo,
Jesus Christ?
yes.
Be like the child.
Be like a child. Don't lose your innocence.
Thank you, Dixie, for your input.
Meron sinabi si Mahatma Gandhi, a nation's culture resides in the hearts and in the soul of the people. So basically, yan talaga ang, it's not so much the external, it's really
The internal.
within, hindi
Yes.
ba? Yung tinatawag natin, nasa puso natin, and that is what we share with people.
Yun ang tunay na heritage.
Yun
eh,
ang
the one that's
heritage.
from the
Oo,
heart,
oo,
di ba?
oo.
From
And
the Lord.
At saka meron nga, if you look at yung heritage na Pinas ng mga great people, no, they are remembered for the lessons that they actually imparted.
Timeless lessons.
Timeless,
Oo.
and there are, like even sa
And with
Bina,
no bounds even. It's not like it's from an American or an Indian or whatever.
yes, yes.
It crosses all those boundaries.
Actually, meron German na nagsabi, we are created in the image of our heavenly parents. We are God's spirit children. Therefore, we have a vast capacity for love. It is part of our spiritual heritage.
Yan ang
Yeah.
tunay
Yun
na
yung
heritage.
loving, hindi ba?
Kaya hindi ba
Spiritual heritage.
there's always
Crossing
that
all those boundaries people put up artificially.
every individual, any responsible adult or a parent,
There's no special person or ordinary person.
because the spiritual journey of every individual becomes a must in a society that truly cares.
Ah.
Kasi that's kumbaga that is something that is priceless.
Mm-hmm.
It encompasses and it is timeless.
Yan.
And one thing that we should always understand and remember, it is effective.
Tunay kasi, tunay kasi yan.
It's what we need.
Right.
It's what nourishes us. It's what enlivens us. So therefore, it is a common thing that we all want to
It's a
have.
common ground for everybody.
Common-
We are
Common need and
we
common
have the same
gift
Father on the
that we
end of the
want.
day.
Yeah.
Siguro kaya si Angel sabi niya, he feels energized always when watching a program. Kasi yun ang ating pinag-usapan.
We're talking about
We're powered by this.
mga nakaka-energize. When we talk about wisdom and the truth, hindi ba? Talaga. Kasi there's sometimes when you keep just talking about the problem, parang nakaka-depress yung problema lang.
We have to
hindi
talk
ba?
of solutions
We have to
naman.
talk about
Tsaka dumadaan-daan lang naman
solutions.
yan Tsaka if it's people-created problems. Kumbaga when there's problems that arises in this situation, it has to do with our lack of wisdom and understanding of the realities of our existence.
Oh, tsaka wala naman daw problema na sobrang laki na hindi kaya ni Lord ayusin na.
Hindi makaya.
Meron laging
May paraan tayo.
solusyon, no?
Actually,
Alalahanin nyo, even in the past, titingnan nyo, even with the health of people, our physical and our mental health, our society, the old societies, if you look at it, even in the modern time, di ba? A lot of us are also looking back and what did the people do in the past to maintain such ideal health? And how did they deal with it?
di ba yung mga IPs, yung mga mga Aita, they have already a culture that they learn yung kanilang medicine, yung
Ano yung
treating
food nila, ano yung
nila.
gamot nila.
Yeah.
Tapos,
All of those indigenous peoples, may kanya-kanya silang knowledge.
and then there
on
are other
those
cultures
things.
like in the Asian culture, you'll find yung mga traditional medicines na ginagamit nila.
traditional healing.
Alam mo,
Oo.
makikita ninyo na yung how they manage it. Kaya nga may kasabihan na yung lineage,
Yun talaga
pinipreserve
ang
yung
heritage
kaalaman.
nila.
Kasi it carried the society to difficulties
Yes.
that they face with.
And
But
they survived all
and they
those years.
and they continue to develop and improve on what they were given. So the foundation was there. They wanted to make sure ito yung foundation para if you have good health, mental and physical, this is where it begins.
Yan ang heritage. Di ba?
Right.
Pinasa sa atin ng mga nanay natin, lola natin.
Can you imagine being born in this world and then you don't get to learn anything
Of this.
Problema.
from the past
You will
or
not
from
survive.
the people who came before you? It's like you don't have any source of knowledge.
Oo.
It's a hard life, wala
Oo.
kang
Di ba? It's like
Instead, we are
Even-
getting all of this
and many
free,
times,
no?
if you look at
Pinapasa
it,
sa atin. So
even in the
nice.
old days, in the ancient times, and even in the near, just a few hundred years
Today,
ago, even in societies current today, makikita niyo yung mga healers nila. They don't just treat the body, they treat the person.
yan.
Yes.
And this is
Kasi
something.
marami, it's really more emotional.
Yes, and then now
The
today we
problem.
makikita natin na there's so many instances where plus when it gets to the healthy well-being of a person, it becomes the business of everybody in the community and in the
Tulungan
family.
talaga. Oo.
Simply because pag may nangyari sa aking community na may nagkasakit na ganito, hindi ko mapapakaila, baka may susunod na iba pa. So mas mainam na we work as a society to deal with it. Ngayon, nakikita natin, in general, that's what we try to do. Yung nagkaroon ng COVID, hindi ba?
Oo.
May mga guidance, may mga, ito ngayon, sanay na tayo.
May
Parang,
support groups.
May support.
Oo, may support.
Pero meron din nangyayari minsan na for example, the young mothers, ang dami nilang alam from books, from the internet. When they have problems with their child, ayaw nilang tanungin mga nanay nila or lola nila. So, kung ano-ano pa ang ginagawa nila, it could have been simple if they asked the mom or the lola. Alam naman kasi kung ano ang gagawin. No? So, we need to be
Yes.
open also to our heritage. Andyan na yung heritage natin with all the knowledge from experience passed down from our elders na
right. That's
generations.
why, ito,
Let's take advantage of
isa sa
that.
pinaka-importanting aral dapat natin embracein at wag natin itatalikuran. Yung
Yes.
pag-aalaga ng ating mga elders at teachers, bibigyan ng pansin talaga kasi sila yung nagdadala ng mga kaalaman na nakakatulong sa ating mga buhay habang tayo rin ay nagpapalaki ng sarili natin mga pamilya.
Yeah, habang they're still around us, they have a lot to give us.
Yung mga payo. Kaya nga,
Tanggapin natin
Yung mga
kanila mga regalo.
kaalaman sa spiritual,
Oo.
Yes.
di ba, may mga sistemang itinatag para hindi mabaliwala at hindi, kumbaga isatabi yung mga ganyang uring kaalaman. Kaya nga ang process, ibinigay sa atin yun na meron pang standards kung paano gagawin.
Kaya nga sinabi ni Minerva Dunca, no, sabi niya, wisdom of words are encouraging.
Yes.
No, so this
And
means
words of wisdom
Oo,
also.
words of wisdom are encouraging. So yung sources ng wisdom, meron tayong ibang sources, yung mga expert teachers, no, mga expert spiritual mentors. Tapos meron din tayong sacred books or sacred literature, hindi ba? As well as yung mga payo ng mga yung mga ancient sages. Yan, meron tayong makukuha talaga para matulungan tayo
Kasi-
sa buhay.
Kasi it's not, when you deal with wisdom and you deal with knowledge, true knowledge, which is not limited by time and place, which is timeless, and it is knowledge that anybody, whatever millennial it is, whatever whatever time it is, these are timeless information that would help us in our spiritual journey.
Yan.
See, when you deal with spirituality or spiritual life, it is our eternal nature.
Yes.
So
Yes.
everything that we learn while living in this world, we should value it, especially when we see that, you know, uh, others, other younger generation would be following suit and be using the same resources that has been given us. So these are things that, for me to be able to value that, what will it take for me to be able to recognize that these things are very much intricate part of a society. And the thing kasi today, when we talk about values, we talk about yung sukatan ng halaga. Oh, magkano ba yan? Hindi ba? May mga ganun eh.
Yeah. Pero not everything, a lot of things are priceless.
You're right.
Oo,
A lot
yeah.
of things are priceless.
Oo, hindi mo basta malagyan ng presyo.
And
Actually,
this is-
pinaka-precious pa nga yung priceless, yung
Ayun na.
hindi ba, hindi natin nakikita, hindi natin, not the material, actually, it's non-material.
What
that
is essential?
Oh, is what is essential.
invisible to the
Meron
eye.
nga sinabi dito na, how can we know where we are going if we don't know where we came from?
And
So
you don't
we-
know who you are.
And you don't. That
Oo.
includes your identity. Where did we come from? What is our origin? You know, and
What is our essence?
what is our essence? So from here, yung foundation, that then you can determine where you will go.
And
you
what
know?
would
Yeah.
make you happy.
Yeah. So if we're talking about spiritual heritage, meron din tayong home, may spiritual origin, hindi ba? And so our eternal and continual search is for that spiritual heritage that will bring us forward to our spiritual origin.
Yes,
Diba?
everything,
What is
everything.
most natural to us and how
Your
we can be
success on
happy.
that endeavor depends on knowledge that you're taught. Like, look, you're just temporary beings in this world, and this is who you are.
Yeah.
And then, if you embrace this knowledge today in your life, you don't have to wait later.
Yeah.
It is
You'll
something
be
that
free
you
from the pains and
Right, then
suffering of
you're-
this world.
Yes, then you
of
are.
the worries of
There's
this world.
there's less. Kumbaga kasi nangyayari when we are too enamored by the worldly affairs of our existence. One thing that comes about is when attachment begins to really grow on you.
Yeah.
Kasi you need that eh. But if
You
you
need
realize
attachment, but not to this world.
to this world, yeah.
Actually, merong analogy that always sticks to my mind, it's like yung nagde-develop tayo ng attachment pag nasa bus terminal tayo, which is actually just a short stop in
Yeah,
a
it's
in a
only
bus station.
Oh,
At ang
we're
kasama
only
mo
here-
sa pasahero sa bus at saka yung mga konduktor at saka driver, temporary lang yun.
Saka
Kumbaga-
hindi mo naman sila makikita ulit. Eh.
Yeah, probably
Exactly.
most likely never again. So we don't make attachments to those that are, temporary na temporary yung ating situation.
Tsaka hindi tayo,
Ganun ho tong mundo na to. Para lang itong basta.
hindi tayo magbabahay-bahayan dun sa loob ng bus, no? Hindi tayo forever nandyan sa bus. na yan.
Because
Daan lang
it's
tayo.
not our home. Sandali lang tayo dito.
So our heritage really is much more permanent. Our heritage is much more kasi like
Fulfilling.
fulfilling.
Oo.
Kasi yung sabihin natin kahit yung mga cultural heritage dito, ano yan, nasisira-sira yan.
And there's no question.
Crumble.
And there's no question
Even
of
that's not eternal.
there's no question of endurance
Yeah.
or sustainability. When you embrace a more deeper heritage based on the truth, then that becomes because you live the truth. Eh.
Ayun ang tunay.
Yeah,
Tunay.
and then
Hindi
that
siya
is
fake
where
news.
the emphasis of our existence should be given.
Oo.
And this is something that we can learn early in our lives. So to our friends, again, maraming
Okay.
salamat po sa inyo. I
Umabol
hope.
ng bati sa atin si Clarissa Dominilio at saka si Elvira Espiritu.
Okay.
Hello, hello.
A blessed morning again, and kayo ay mag-ingat and always stay safe. Follow the protocols. Things may
Yes,
change
COVID
again.
is still with us.
So,
I think it will always be with us.
all right. So you take care of yourself at maraming salamat sa inyong lahat. Okay.
Thank you. See you
Ingat.
again next Saturday. Bye.
God bless.
pangkalusugan, pangkalikasan, go palakas.